Let's take a second right now to have a moment of silence for Washington Mystics owner Shelly Johnson, who suggested that the WNBA as a whole should have been on the cover of Time magazine instead of just Caitlin Clark.
2 months apart, Sheila Johnson, owner of the Washington Mystics, made a shocking statement. She criticized Caitlin Clark's Athlete of the Year award, saying the whole WNBA should be recognized, not just one player.
However, a lot of people are noticing the fact that we all remember Sheila Johnson, right? The Mystics owner that went on CNN that was none too pleased about Caitlin Clark having received the Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. She made absurd comments.
But actions speak louder than words. What Sheila Johnson just announced about the Fever Games has the basketball world buzzing. The same owner, who said it's not just Caitlin Clark bringing attention to the league, is now making business decisions that prove the opposite. The surprising numbers behind her latest move reveal the truth Johnson doesn't want you to know. Stay tuned, because we've got all the proof, including a certain award that Johnson stayed silent about. Ready? Let's dive in.
Where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said, the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have?
Remember when a WNBA owner came out swinging against the most exciting thing to happen to the league in years? That's exactly what happened when Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson publicly criticized Caitlin Clark's Athlete of the Year award during a CNN interview.
It has taken the WNBA almost 28 years to get to the point where we are now. And this year, something clicked with the WNBA, and it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark. It's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized. And I don't think we can just pin it on one player.
Let's break down what Johnson actually said, because her words reveal something pretty interesting. Johnson argued that instead of honoring Caitlin Clark individually, Time should have recognized the entire WNBA. Think about that logic for a moment. An award meant to celebrate one standout performer should somehow be split up among over 100 players.
Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings.
This statement raises an interesting question. Was Johnson really concerned about team morale, or was there something else behind her comments? But Johnson didn't stop there. She went further by suggesting there was a racial aspect to Clark's recognition. She said, "I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition they should have." With this, Johnson turned what could have been a discussion about individual versus collective recognition into something much more divisive.
There has been, this phrase has been couched, hasn't it? The Caitlin Clark effect. Why do you think that has been the case?
Well, I want to be very diplomatic about this. It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now it is time for that to happen.
What makes Johnson's criticism particularly puzzling is how it completely overlooks the measurable impact Clark had on the league. The numbers tell a clear, undeniable story. When the Fever played against the Mystics last year, Johnson's own team saw an average attendance of around 20,000 fans. Yet, when other teams visited the Mystics, they struggled to fill even 5,000 seats. That's not just a small increase. That's a major shift in fan engagement.
Caitlin has brought a ton of new opportunity, a ton of new eyeballs, and more money to the sport. So instead of downplaying the magnitude of who she is and what she's brought, enjoy the ride and take advantage of the ride.
Clark's influence went far beyond just filling seats. Her presence in the league led to a threefold increase in attendance for Fever games overall. Jersey sales? They skyrocketed by an incredible 1,000%. These aren't just impressive numbers. They're game-changing figures that show how one player can elevate an entire league's profile and financial prospects.
While the NBA's ratings continue to drop over 30%, as they try to figure out who is going to fill the shoes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. The WNBA has a golden goose sitting in their league and it's gotten better, but has done everything to kind of discredit the momentum and eyeballs she's brought to this game.
What's most revealing about this situation is how Clark responded to the criticism. Instead of firing back or getting caught up in unnecessary drama, she took the high road. During her Time magazine interview, Clark highlighted the importance of mutual respect among players and brushed off any talk of jealousy within the league. No defensiveness, no counterattacks, just quiet confidence in her own journey.
So Caitlin is someone who has, if you look at it, done everything you're supposed to do and has been criticized along every step of the way. Again, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't.
The contrast between Johnson's remarks and Clark's response speaks volumes. One tried to downplay an individual achievement and frame it as potentially harmful, while the other showed grace under pressure and refused to be drawn into division. So, was Johnson's criticism really about protecting team unity and ensuring fair recognition, or was it the first sign of something else? Perhaps a pattern of behavior that would become harder to ignore as time went on.
I mean, honestly, we know how this owner feels about Caitlin Clark. Let us not forget this.
That pattern of behavior became crystal clear when A'ja Wilson was awarded one of Time as Women of the Year honors recently. Suddenly, Johnson's passionate speech about recognizing the entire league vanished faster than playoff tickets at Capital One Arena. Where was all that concern about hard feelings when it wasn't Caitlin Clark in the spotlight? Time just announced A'ja Wilson as one of their Women of the Year, celebrating her remarkable contributions to women's basketball. This prestigious individual recognition placed Wilson in the exact same position Clark had been in just months earlier, one player being honored for her achievements. It was the perfect moment for Sheila Johnson to once again stand up for her supposed principles about team recognition over individual accolades. But where was she then?
Time magazine backed themselves into a confusing corner with their latest blunder. This is a Whiskey Riff right here. When they crowned their Athlete of the Year last year, they did the right thing by giving the title to Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark. Surprisingly, there was some backlash to the decision, which is absurd, with many in the WNBA saying the award should have been given to the entire league instead of just Clark.
Except, she didn't say a word. Not a single comment. No CNN interview this time, no passionate plea about how Time should have recognized all the women of the WNBA instead of just Wilson. The deafening silence from the Mystics owner spoke volumes about what was really behind her earlier criticism. Remember all those concerns about creating hard feelings among players when individuals receive special recognition? Apparently, those concerns had an expiration date, or maybe they were never genuine to begin with. Wilson's honor represented the exact scenario Johnson claimed to be troubled by, yet her principles mysteriously vanished overnight.
And all the money. Gate revenue, attendance, ratings, all the stuff we've talked about, right? There's only one. Right, wrong, or indifferent, just one. Plays in Indiana, wears 22.
This glaring inconsistency didn't escape notice within the league. WNBA player Lexi Brown called out the double standard, posting, "Can we please stop taking steps backwards?" Her frustration echoed the thoughts of many players. If the concern was genuinely about fairness and team unity, why did it only surface when Clark was in the spotlight? Unlike Johnson's earlier claims about players developing resentment, Wilson's achievement was widely celebrated throughout the league, with players supporting her rather than resenting her individual recognition. This stark contrast highlights something troubling about Johnson's original stance. It was the perfect opportunity to demonstrate consistency in her convictions, to again argue that individual honors diminish collective achievement. Instead, she chose silence, suggesting that her initial outrage had little to do with protecting team unity and everything to do with who was receiving the recognition.
People, keep in mind, this is a business. When Nike signs an athlete, Okay, they want to get an ROI, return on their investment. How do they do that? Because that athlete resonates. You understand that Caitlin Clark, her jerseys, her apparel, if she has an apparel deal, her shoes will sell.
Let's be real. If Johnson genuinely believed that individual accolades created division in women's basketball, her response to both honors would have been identical. The fact that she spoke out only against Clark's recognition while staying silent about Wilson's award shows a troubling selectivity in her principles. What's most telling about this situation isn't just the hypocrisy of Johnson's chosen outrage. It's what that selectivity reveals about her true motivations. When two superstars receive nearly identical individual recognition just months apart, and a team owner only criticizes one of them, we're no longer talking about principles. We're talking about targeting. Why do you think Johnson is selectively targeting Clark? Let us know.